Yo,
Good man.
what is good, man? I'm ready to get stoned, man. It's been probably a few months, so we're getting
Let's.
stoned with Leo today.
My mic keeps cutting off. Can you guys hear okay on here? My Twitter Spaces keeps like muting my mic. I'm like, is it? You got me okay, Chris? All right, Chris. I'm like, is Chris fucking muting my mic here, bro? What's up? Look at dude. It's still muting me, man. That's crazy. I just like every 10 seconds. Look at that. It's fucking muting my mic. Check it out, Jake. I'm not touching it. Hands off.
I think that might just be your software, because what I see on my phone is actually something that's different from what's on the screen, because it's showing Leo's in the spaces. So I think that might just be your video software. But
I think I'm rugged in the space. Yeah, I'm a little bit rugged in the space. So am I unmuted right now in the space? Can you guys hear us? Give a thumbs up if you can hear us. See, they can't hear us. Yeah. Let me leave and come back in. Or what do you say?
Sure.
Actually, I'm seeing it now. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I'll pay attention to my mic and if it mutes or whatever.
I think your software is just a little bit slow to update. But Chris, can you hear us? Let's see if Chris can hear us.
Yeah, we're all good,
yeah.
Man.
All right, cool.
Yep, I've got you guys now. So I think we are ready.
Awesome, man. So I'm actually pretty excited for this. I think a lot of people are. If you could tell by the amount of people watching right now, you got 200 people on the live stream, and there's a few hundred in the spaces. Leo's been the man of the hour. Leo's been I don't think I have seen a when crowd as much as I've seen the Runestone community of recent, but also one of the largest airdrops, probably the largest airdrop in Rune's history. I know there's been some large airdrops in ordinals from some like BTC Machine and stuff like that. But, Leo, let's catch up with Leo for a little bit, man. We were actually, Adam and I were sitting the other day just talking about our spaces with Casey back in September of 2022. And then also even just the historical NFT community. And it's kind of interesting now seeing a lot of the provenance debates that we had 3 years ago in the historical community starting to pop up in the ordinals community. It's kind of interesting. So before we do dive into Runestone, man, what's your take on that? Are we running back the historical NFT narrative, but on Bitcoin?
Are you hearing him?
I don't hear him, so it might actually just be your mic.
Chris, are you hearing him? Wow, I think I'm rugged. Give me a sec.
Well, just leave and come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave and come back. Rugging, and the rug.
That's okay. Just keep in mind that. All right, I think that might be. Well, just leave and come back.
I'm gonna leave and come back. Wow, did you see that delay?
But this is going to be an epic space. Happy to have everyone here. Thanks for checking it out. Definitely show some love on the tweet, retweet, follow everyone on stage, and we're definitely going to get into a fun episode. So Leo, man, how does it feel to just kind of be in the mix, main character vibes, like Jake said, that Runestones are basically the biggest thing to hit the blockchain. So how's the vibes? How
total rugging and the Ruggenstein crew.
Excited for Runestone. It feels like it's more pressure to like execute well. So it's like a double-edged sword in that way. But I think I'm just really excited that people are excited about Runestone, right? The idea, whales are getting, better benefits from the algorithm. There's these team allocations, all of these things. And in many cases that makes sense. But I was just like, let's run an experiment where we just like literally have a goal of making the best airdrop possible. I'm not making money on it. So my goal isn't to like create money for myself. The entire point of the experiment is, what does a free market value something that is engineered to try to be as fair as possible getting the tokens in as deserving of a hands as possible. Like, what does that look like? And we're going to find out when these hit the market. I don't know. I don't know the answer. It could be a failed experiment. We're trying, and so far it seems like something's resonating with people.
I love the whole idea of it is really captivating. But one thing from just like a market perspective, I mean, we see it.
Adam's on that Costa Rica internet right now.
Oh shit, man.
Adam, you're rugging pretty hard.
Jake, maybe you want to give Jake, you want to use your phone and go through your phone?
I'm not at my place right now, so I don't have the Roadcaster. Try again, or I'd say just maybe even restart your phone. So we have the live streamers here. Adam's rugging pretty hard. We're gonna need Adam to just hold it down, or Chris to hold it down for a second. You're on that Costa Rica vibes,
man.
Epic fail. That's all good.
Epic fail. Remember those days, man? Epic fail, dude. All right, here we go. Let's try again.
You're rugging on us, I think. So.
Wow, it's still doing the thing.
Jake,
it's okay.
Can you hear? Can you speak?
Go ahead.
So X is giving us a pretty rough time over here.
Wow.
But
Jake, are you on the Spaces on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to leave the live stream though.
Yeah. Well, just mute it. You can't have it on right if I join here.
I don't have my Roadcaster Pro with me, so I can't link it to. I can't link the video to the audio.
No, like I said, I didn't really come into it with expectations. I think the reality is the measuring stick for a project in crypto is the market cap. So that is what people will sort of measure when they're thinking about what does success look like. But for me, success was, do we successfully engineer something that generate this list of addresses, come to consensus on their own? It's much harder. It's much slower to do things in this way, but I think there's something important about that. And having this be something that like the Ordinals community pitches in and makes happen. Like I basically saw this opportunity for the Ordinals community to spend literally 50 cents per person per address to give itself something that's value would likely far exceed 50 cents. So the opportunity was there, right? The Ordinals community always had the ability to do this to itself. And it really just took somebody sort of rallying the troops. And it turned out that everyone's been very excited to contribute to this. I've had no trouble at all. We've had, we needed an inscription partner. I had like 7 different companies reach out, right? Ended up picking a great inscription partner with Ordinals Bot. Everyone I've worked with and everyone who's been contributing, they're just volunteering, right? Like their Ordinals Bot's not making money from this. Like the different engineering teams, the OKX team put together a nice tool. The LFG team put together a tool. The BitPunks team put together a tool for checking addresses. These are all just people pitching in, helping out. And yeah, the Genie data teams or data, like all of these people just pitching in to help out. And I don't know, I love that. There's 15 different individuals, whales, companies that have donated money. And then now there's Buoyant Capital that acquired the inscription of the runestone for APTC. Like this is all just incredible. Like I didn't realize that would necessarily play out like that. I had a hunch that people would kind of help support and rally around something, but when you do something that's like not for profit really, and like people are just volunteering, that is very, it's like, there's not like a business model. Like the business model of Leonidas takes 10% of the token. So then he's sitting on, $20 million or something. He then hires a bunch of engineers and then a bunch of marketing people and does that. Yeah, that's one route of doing this, but it's what everybody does. And I would much rather try to create a non-utility token in as like Bitcoin of a way as possible. And I very much, inspired by people like Casey, to be totally honest with you here.
So can you guys hear us? Do we sound good? No rug anymore.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we may have missed part of this beginning, but one of the questions I wanted to lead off was, in one of your posts, like I think it was maybe 2 or 3 days ago, you kind of assigned one of the reasons of starting Runestone is because you felt that the ordinal community was getting stale, or maybe the market was getting stale. What did you mean by that? Is kind of where I wanted to start this conversation off.
So it's me being a little bit cynical, but again, essentially been in this space for a little over 9 years now. You start to just see the same things over and over. It's like you see something on your timeline, and it's like, okay, that is this thing repackaged slightly to look different with a different name. And it's like, it's boring to me. I very much respect the people that come along and push the boundaries, right? So huge respect for projects like Taproot Wizards, the first 4 mega. That's so badass. Like, I value that 1,000 times more than a project that's like, let's say, way more valuable, but that is not doing anything interesting, or is just like, there's a lot of projects in this space where the founder's super connected. So they're networking behind the scenes, doing the pre-sale thing to everyone. I get to see all of these opportunities. There's that whole thing that happens. And like, that is what determines the success of a lot of projects. And to me, that's not that interesting. Like, I want to see you do something badass. I want you to get a few engineers together and come up with some really cool shit, right? And that there's not enough of that. There's too many 10K PFPs. Like, I don't know how else to say that. It's like, come on. Like,
how dare you, bro? How dare you?
CryptoKitties was amazing, right? Like, you guys, we studied CryptoKitties. Like, I got to play CryptoKitties when it came out. Where are the new novel ideas like CryptoKitties, where you breed NFTs together and create a new NFT? Why are we just doing the same things over and over and over? And the answer is, that's what's easy, right? The market wants that. So rather than having to go invent something new or try something different, we'll just do the same template over and over. So pretty much every airdrop ever is a template that companies do right now, where effectively you have a company, you airdrop a token to people, you did a pre-sale for that token prior, there's a large team allocation, and more or less what happens there is you do a farming mechanism to get people to basically boost a bunch of metrics. I'm talking about like Blur or something, where you boost a bunch of metrics so that the product seems very successful to like retail investors. So then it gets valued. But I'm not sure that like, if your product needs this token and farming to like get those users, I'm not confident you have a great product, right? It's like a 10-year, very long-term, valuable, sustainable business. And I see this template, and I just know, and it's sort of me just spending too much time in this industry, where I just I'm a little cynical that it's just like, I know that this founder is just playing a game of like, they're going to do a token airdrop thing. They're going to get people to farm the token. They're going to they're not really users of the product. They're just grinding to get a token. They don't care about the product. And they're going to create all these crazy stats that we did all this volume and we did all this. And it's like, none of it's like real, right? Like, it's like, fundamentally, like, I can look at a product and use a product and tell you if it's a good product or not, or if they're doing something interesting. I'll respect that. And I don't see enough things that I respect in the space right now. And I think there's like some really interesting, really like there's people like pushing ZK rollup tech, for example. Like, that's amazing. And then there's a cohort of people who are just copy pasting that code and deploying it before it's even ready and like raising $100 million. These are two completely different things. And I just think retail investors, it's like very there's this whole game of like confusing and boosting metrics and just all this stuff. And I don't know, like, this is me kind of going on a little bit of a rant here, but I'm like, let's just do something completely different, where it's like, let's do this non-utility token where it's just a meme. It's going to be a meme coin, and it's distributed in as fair of a way as possible. So there's no utility. So there's no angle like that. The longer I spend in this space, the more I appreciate tokens that have no utility, because then there isn't this variable of you getting rugged or the founder doing a bad job executing. It's like the most fair form of this space. It's like the most honest form of a token. This is sort of, what Runestone is about. It's like, let's do a non-utility token. Let's get it in the hands of people who I think objectively deserve it. And then let's not play any of these other games. And that's like a piece of art in itself.
Yeah,
And
dude, it's like, we'll see where that goes, right? Because it's uncharted territory. Certainly on this sort of scale is very uncharted. I mean, the one thing you've definitely been able to do is harness attention. Like, you've got an incredible amount of attention. And I'd love your thoughts on this, because it's like, what we've seen with that is if price were to dump, and this is where it gets really interesting here, and it is actually almost like an art piece, because it's like, what happens when you're going to have this huge, wide kind of holder base, right? You're not going to have these whales who are going to be able to manipulate and control price. So, like, it's just as likely price dumps as price goes up, right? You're going to get these maybe wild swings, negative possibly. Can it maintain interest and attention if price goes down, right? Like, what's your thoughts? You must have thought this through. Like, I mean, there's nothing can do about it, but what are your thoughts on that? Like, just that kind of metric of price go down and loss of attention because price is going down.
so I think you touched on an interesting point there in regards to holder distribution. So I think there's this statistic on pretty much every collection page, on pretty much every NFT marketplace, no matter what chain you're on, where it's like, what is the percentage of unique holders? So like, there's a supply of the tokens, and then there's the number of holder addresses. And Runestone is specifically engineered to have a perfect statistic there. Like, every project, you'll notice, like, I'm not going to start calling out projects, but there's projects where the distribution is like 10% unique holders.
Totally.
So that means whales control the project. It's a very unhealthy dynamic in the market, because retail investors are not stupid. They realize that, like, those people are going to have to sell to you over the next year. So it's a massive sell pressure on that project. And if you can get that up higher and higher, what you effectively have is a much more healthy market. And Runestone starts off on day one with the healthiest market of one address and one Runestone per address. So if let's say you're a whale and you want to come in and participate in Runestone, you got one Runestone, maybe you had a few addresses. So, there's some examples of people who will get a few more than one because they had several addresses. But in general, that whale is going to have to come in and say, I want to deploy $1 million of capital into this project. This is not that. This is a very normal thing that whales do. Like, it doesn't move the needle for them if they buy like 5 Runestones, right? They want to buy a lot of Runestones, and they have to go to some random person who participated in ordinals in the last year and has their Runestone, and they have to buy it from them and give that person money. And like, I'm fine with that outcome. Like, that person should get paid for helping this protocol. I think that's awesome. So all of that is to say, pretty much when you look at a 10K PFP, and I'm kind of checking it out, there's a couple things I'll just instantly eyeball. And one of them is, are there 6,000 holders? Are there 3,000 holders? These are very large differences in the market dynamics for the short term. Eventually, given enough time, it all evens out and hopefully gets more and more holders over time. But Runestone starts out with a very healthy dynamic there, and I think I'm interested to see what that dynamic looks like in a market. Like I said, if a whale wants to spend $1 million on Runestones, they have to go buy them from somebody. And that means, 100 people need to sell their Runestones, right? Or something like this. So as far as price going up and down, this is more of a kind of question around non-utility tokens, where meme coins, literally, like, the entire purpose is that they're volatile, right? That they're a speculative token. Like, this is, in Casey's words, this is the internet casino. And it's the most honest. The meme coin is the most honest form of an internet casino. A non-utility token is the most honest form of that casino. So if you think that, like, what's happening here is meme coins are just going to go up forever. You're very much not understanding this cycle and like what's going to happen over the next 2 years. We're going into a crypto cycle. It will peak at some point. Meme coins will go crazy. You basically are trying to time the top, and that's the game that's being played. And it will go down a lot after the top is in. And the real big question, and this is why I think it's very important for people to understand that there's a small number of tokens where they transcend entire cycles. So everyone's focused on, I want to get my runestone 6 weeks ago so that I could just dump it and make a couple $100 or something. That is great because you just made $200, but there's someone else who just purchased that token. And I care about that person as well. And I want to be putting a best foot forward for that person too. And what that means is let's leave our mark in the Bitcoin blockchain, literally and figuratively, such that not just next week or next month or next year, but literally next cycle, in the 2028 cycle, people still care about Runestone. And that is like the aspiration. And that is where I will look back and be like, we did something amazing here. And if we don't do that, then we're no different than any other sort of kind of just like pump type thing. So when I, delay Runestone because we want to do something different than other people and try to leave our mark here, and when we do things much slower and, have the sort of more decentralized open aspect to it, this is all focused on, let's try a unique experiment. Let's do something amazing. Let's try to, do something really badass. And I think what that ultimately means, if we're successful, is that this non-utility token, this meme coin, gets to be around in the consciousness of the space for a super long time. Because people will look back on this moment. Make no mistake, the moment that Bitcoin got NFTs and meme coins and Web3 and everything that's to come, like that is sort of the pivotal moment in crypto of the last 10 years. Like you had Bitcoin, and then you had smart contracts with Ethereum, and now you have that Web3 stuff coming to Bitcoin. Like this is the high level history of crypto. So that moment is happening right now. We're literally living through it. It's an extraordinarily large opportunity. And this token, I want this token to be in the consciousness of that moment. And I think that's how you sort of make your mark in the history books or something like this. So that's the aspiration. We could also crash and burn.
Bro, don't fuck it up, bro. Bro, don't fuck it up. Look, there's a lot of pressure on you, right? I mean, are you feeling the pressure to actually get it right? I mean, obviously you're working with the Ordinal bot guys and they're going to handle that stuff. But still, I mean, it's like, if this goes poorly, right, there's tremendous pressure, right? Even though it's free, that doesn't matter. I mean, we've all run into this in the past too. It doesn't matter that it's free if you screw it up, right? How are you handling that personally?
Yeah, so the good thing is there's no this is not me saying, hey, I just raised $1 billion in venture capital and we're going to go build this gaming metaverse and we have to deliver on this crazy product that needs to be viral and have 1 million users, monthly users by the end of the year. There's nothing like that. It's a non-utility token. So fundamentally, as long as I'm able to sort of create a culture and ethos around this, right, that kind of can carry the idea forward and really focus on getting the runestones into the addresses and then getting a runes token into the hands of the holders of those runestones, that's fundamentally what needs to happen. And that is me. There's clearly the will to do that. So it's me connecting the people together to make sure that they can actually be the ones to execute on that. So that's essentially my role here, is sort of helping to spearhead the initiative. And it's up to the Ordinals community whether they want this to be a success or not. Like if this is something you care about and you want to see, a statement made where this is how an airdrop happens and this is how a token gets distributed, then support the initiative. And if a lot of people do that, I think it makes a really huge difference. So yes, there is pressure, but no, I don't I don't see myself needing to like do anything super crazy here. Like I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing. Like, you know, this is not even my top priority, right? Like I run a company, Ord.io, host a Twitter space with friends as well called The Ordinal Show. I also, you know, collect a little on the side as well still. So I've got a lot of different things going on. And this is like, really is like kind of a side thing that's, yes, it's taking some of my time right now. But it's something that if the Ordinals community wants to make successful, it has the opportunity to do that. I'm making sure that the opportunity is there if it wants to take that opportunity and run with it.
Let's go to Dogfather. I saw your hand up real quick.
Yeah. Hey, GM. Yeah, props, Leo. That's really like an amazing initiative. I mean, this whole stage looks like 2 years ago with Jake, Adam, and Leo on stage with all 8 NFT times. So it's cool that, I mean, we're still here, right? I mean, let's celebrate that a bit. It's not common that people are like, you know, grinding every day, not burning out or doing whatever. Just, you know, enjoying the space and building like you did with Out.io already. This is like already like legendary. I mean, this is the coolest explorer ever. Now with the Runestone drop idea, this is really cool. And now, you know, with the auction, it made such a huge splash with this 8 BTC auction. And I think this will be like one big pillar in this whole initiative, that this is not just some, you know, tokens that you throw out of the window. There is this parent and grandparent that are like legendary blocks, legendary inscriptions. So people have something really special in their Runes wallet, not just some token with some cheap like logo. This is something like you know, big artistic you know, artwork, and yeah, this is really standing out. Very hard to copy. I think that the USP is already here. So I'm pretty bullish on that. I think you can hardly fuck up now. It already has so many eyeballs. If you're and I mean, Paddy cannot hear that anymore because I'm telling that every space you have on Sunday with the Runes Legacy Discord team. I'm always saying that if you're in the front of the whole pack of all these Runes projects and you're like in the front seat and you're one of the biggest. This is like a positive feedback loop because you're probably also the first being listed on centralized exchanges. If you're the first listed there, you have even more eyeballs. You have more balls, right? Bigger balls. More eyeballs means bigger balls. So you have all the liquidity and all the, you know, Chinese legions jumping on that then on OKX and Binance China. So this is something like once you're here now, I think the next weeks will be easier than the first week. So let's just keep the culture cool. Let's have fun. Let's jump in the Runestone Discord, discuss all these you know, things we have to decide as a group, like token ticker and supply and all these things. So it's pretty cool to be involved. So I was very happy with all data with my buddy to help with the you know, verification. I mean, that's so cool if not one person or one small team is doing that, you know, in some behind closed doors, but really open and open discussion. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I love that, Doge Father. I think you had a really solid point there at the end around just like what happens, what does it look like if you harness everybody in this space rather than just a small team that you hired, right? To me, that's the model. That's the beauty. Bitcoin works because everybody can participate in it. And the aggregate of all of us makes Bitcoin so valuable. So to me, it's like, what does it look like if we all come together and create this thing, right? If I can just tweet it out an idea and rally the space, the Ordinals community together around a thing, and it's free and it's fair and I'm not making any money on it. And what does it look like if that becomes more valuable 2 months later than Bored Ape Yacht Club? Like Bored Ape Yacht Club has a $600 million market cap right now. Like what does that look like? What kind of statement does that make? I just think it's very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting experiment. I really don't think I've ever seen an airdrop really do what we're doing here. So it's an experiment. You know, people are telling me this is going to fail because you didn't, get it in the hands of whales. It's just going to be paper handed by all these people because, they just want to get their quick money. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do know that I've had this thesis for a while that the market values fair. The market values, transparency. The market values sort of trying to do things maybe along the lines of the way Satoshi or like an OG Bitcoiner might have done things, and like trying to follow that ethos. So yeah, this is all oriented around that. And yeah, what happens if a giant community like Ordinals comes together and rallies around something because they believe it's fair and because there's a set of values that it wants to reward and make a statement with those values. So that's what's interesting to me, and we're gonna see what happens. Like I said, there's no promises, there's no guarantees, but helping to spearhead the idea, and it's up to you guys to really run with it.
I want to make a note here. I'm getting a few DMs and people want replies that want to ask questions. I will start bringing people up in maybe 15, 20 minutes once we get a few more questions. So just make sure that you hit that request button. We'll let people up. If you have any other questions and you don't want to come on stage, hit that purple button in the bottom right-hand corner, post it in the replies, and we'll make sure that we can get all of your questions answered. I do want to go back a little bit because, Leo, I really do love your takes. You have a very in-depth knowledge when it comes to kind of market dynamics and trends. We studied NFT and crypto history, together in 2021 up until this point. Has there ever been a time in the crypto industry to where there was these IOU projects that were starting 3 months before a project was ever or a protocol was built, and then an entire market is formed, right? They call it the pre-runes meta. Has there ever been a time, from your understanding, that this has existed? And what's your whole take on the runes meta or trend that's happening as you are, a participant in leading one of these quote unquote eventual meme coins or Runestone to come to runes? Take us through kind of your experience of just kind of early identifying this and then forming Runestone. And then do you think all of these projects that are popping up in this pre-runes meta will end up making it to the runes protocol? And how do you think that landing will be for most of these projects?
So to answer the historical question, definitely the ICO era, that's all it was we're going to build this protocol. Here's, an ERC20 token. EOS is an example of a blockchain that had nothing to do with Ethereum. It wasn't out yet. And they raised $2 billion in an ICO as an ERC20 token on Ethereum before it was even out. So tons of precedent of releasing tokens before the actual protocol is ready. And I think ultimately it does sort of help rally the troops around that protocol for when it finally does get released. I think the difference here is that, one, it's non-utility. So all of those ICOs were sort of terrible because they were promising a bunch of stuff that, of course, mostly doesn't get delivered on, right? And then two, instead of a completely free airdrop, they were selling these tokens to people. So it's like a totally different situation back then. But yes, lots of precedent for releasing tokens prior to protocols coming out and doing that on other standards. So as far as all these pre-runes tokens, I think if I'm looking at just the sort of lineage of pre-runes tokens, you got to give credit to RuneX. So Dante and that team sort of started this boxes thing, I want to say December 2023. Some people paid attention. That was the first project like this that I was aware of. RSIC came along. Did an airdrop model, did some really interesting, there's some cool, I think there's some neat mining mechanics in there that I think is pretty cool. And then, yeah, there's now there's a bunch of people. It turns out there's sort of this arbitrage that people realized where it costs 50 cents to inscribe a delegate inscription. So I can inscribe 10,000 delegate inscriptions, spin up a Twitter account, say that we're doing all this stuff, and they're making their money on that team allocation. They'll take the 10% for themselves. And if the market is valuing that airdrop, like if you can spin up a Twitter account and tweet something for like a couple of days, have a 10% team allocation, spend $5,000 or $10,000 doing an airdrop to 10,000 to the other 9,000 people, and create a couple, $2-3 million market cap token, people will do that, right? So that's what's happening. And like, am I personally bullish on that? Not really, but people can do it, and the market can do its thing. So maybe one of those things actually is a really legit team and becomes super valuable. So I'm sort of the belief of like, when you're talking about sort of highly speculative stuff, just buy a little of everything or something along those lines. That certainly would have made me more money in the past couple of years if I had just followed that strategy, right? Like Adam, we would have Ether Rocks, and
probably would not be talking here on this space, would probably be on my private spaceship on Mars, bro. It's like, yeah, you just, it is what it is. But actually, I wanted to get in and this was people were DMing me this question about the parent child. And I saw an interesting conversation with, I think it was you and Charlie, maybe, because Charlie was like, dude, parent child, this is going to take you like 2 years to inscribe these with parent child. I guess the question is, first of all, why do it in in that format? Which I kind of understand, but maybe just explain it, why you want to do parent child, and then explain how you're doing it so it's not going to take, months or years to actually inscribe all of these.
So the most honest answer here is, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it the right way. I don't really care if it's a huge pain in the ass. Figure out, get it done. That's what I care about. So I'm not gonna do something that's like half-assed because it was a little easier or cheaper to inscribe a certain way. Parent-child is the standard that Casey released in the Ordinals protocol for collection provenance. Like I said, everything we're doing is oriented around longevity, right? I want the person who buys the runestone from someone who bought the runestone to not just get rugged completely. Like I want somebody, if they end up holding their runestone to another cycle, that theoretically that could go up in value again. And everything I'm doing is like oriented around sort of protecting that person. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to ask any more? Like,
well, just how technically I didn't quite understand what the back and forth between you and Charlie.
Yeah. So pretty much parent-child is a standard for on-chain collection provenance. So currently, almost all Ordinals collections are, 10,000 files inscribed. They're not really tied together on-chain. So you would come to me at ord.io and say, hey, Leo, can you list our collection? And we'll, in a centralized way off-chain, list in our database that these 10,000 inscriptions are tied together. The downside of that is, and this has literally happened, people come to me and say, hey, this one was stolen, or I want this one removed from the collection, or actually the artist just made some improvements, switched this out. This has literally happened. I think people would be shocked to hear about how often marketplaces and explorers are shifting around what are in collections. I've seen this many times over the last year. It's not ideal. When I go on Twitter and I tweet about ordinals, one of the large value propositions is that ordinals are, the inscriptions are on chain, and there's an immutable nature to this. And that's valuable because you want the art to be around forever. You also want the provenance of that art to be around forever. And that means on-chain collection provenance. I don't want somebody to be able to come around in 10 years. Like, I want to just remove all of the power from the creator. I strongly dislike the operator filter mechanics on Ethereum, and that I watched that entire ecosystem rally around adding a little bit of code to every smart contract where you hold an NFT, but you're not the owner. There's this layer in between where they tell you what you can do and where you can trade that token. And I don't like that at all. So, for example, with ordinals, I don't want to be able to say, it's like, this is crypto in a nutshell. for better or for worse, people view me as the creator of Runestone or something along these lines. It's not even really true. I'm helping to spearhead the initiative, but there's a lot of people actually contributing and doing the work. But let's say in 6 months I come along and say, hey, you know what? I would love to also expand this collection and reward. I'll be manipulative. I want to reward, some really good behavior of, some people who did some great thing, but I'm also going to give myself an allocation of 10% of that because I want to make, $25 million. Like that's the incentive for me. So I'm going to be super manipulative around my communications, and I'm going to really, be as manipulative as possible. I could probably get away with that. People would be mad. People would be pissed. If it's a successful project and build up a lot of value, I could probably pull something like that off. If I have collection provenance and we burn the Runestone, I think it makes it a lot harder for me to argue that, hey, we're expanding the Runestone collection to also include this new 50,000 Runestones. I don't want there to be any ambiguity. I don't want anyone to ever be able to claim there's more than 112,384 Runestones. I want to get rid of that possibility. And that is ultimately the only, that is why things are valuable in this space. Bitcoin is valuable because there's 21 million and nobody can come along and change everybody's mind around that. That's everything, right? When you're storing value, you want to remove all of that. So parent-child was very important for me for that. It's like me de-risking everything for the next 50, 100 years because everybody's going to be able to look on chain and see there's 112,384 Runestones. And the less power I can have, the less power anybody can have, the better. So it's going to be you. You can hold your Runestone. There can be no more Runestones created. And that's all literally a nation state. Like the United States of America, President Biden could say, I order the entire United States military to go increase the supply of Runestone. And they would fail at that. And that's incredible. Of course, that's the point. And I see things on Ethereum where they're going backwards. They're moving in the opposite direction where they're having permission to ownership of the assets. And I strongly dislike that. So we're here on Bitcoin. There's an ethos of immutability, doing things on chain. So we're going to do them that way. And if it's a huge pain in the ass and I have people complaining to me for, weeks that they would rather just get their, basic version of Runestone and sell it and move on with their lives, well, you got to get over it because I'm not going to do that, right? So to finally answer your question though, Adam, to do parent-child provenance, we can do these batches of 1,400 Runestone delegate inscriptions every block, but that's the max we can do. And we have to take the parent inscription, right? This art by this artist who's anonymous, who hasn't been revealed yet. That's the second largest inscription ever on Bitcoin. And we have to thread that SAT through that transaction in that block, wait for that block to be mined, wait for those 1,400 Runestones to be created and distributed, and then rethread that parent inscription through with another batch.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, we would just fire it off all in the mempool, call it a day, tell everyone when everything, once we get 20 sats per VByte for a bunch of blocks, then you'll all get your Runestones.
So basically you're looping it through a block, it comes back, and then you're trying to get it into the next block with the next 1,400, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There is this element of fees where there's volatility in the mempool fee market. So, maybe a block, we're trying to fire off around 20 sat per VByte. So as long as fees are staying below 20 sat per VByte, which every night it is for the past week. So there's a ton of blocks under 20 sat per VByte. A bunch of Runestones can get distributed during that time. But, we're looking at 84 total blocks, and they're not going to all be in a row. They're going to happen probably over a couple of days because we want to be smart about the mempool. So we're looking at a 2 to 3 to 4 day process from start to finish of inscribing the Runestones. It's not 2 years. I think exaggerating.
That would have been, you would have probably got some pushback for that. That would have been rough. Let me just get in one quick question, then I'll pump it over to Dogfather, because this just occurred to me. Did you guys consider or discuss with the community the idea of, rather than each person receiving one Runestone, each person would receive, 1,000, right? So they would be able to chop it up and stuff. Was that ever considered?
So I like this idea of POAP on Ethereum.
Yeah.
Proof of attendance protocol, right? Where you go to a conference, you go to NFT NYC 2021, and you get this POAP that says, I showed up at this moment in time, and here's my badge that says that. And like that was sort of the idea for the Runestone art aspect of the project. And I don't think it's not quite the same if you get 1,000 of them, because then you can sell a bunch of them.
Yeah,
and then
totally
a bunch
get
of people who didn't show up. So I do want it to be like, it's like this decision that each person has. Like, do you sell your Runestone or do you keep your Runestone? And I think that's like an interesting dynamic in the market. And like, you know, if what happened in this last year meant something to you, and you sort of realize the magnitude of Web3 coming to Bitcoin and the role that you played in like earning that Runestone in this past year to make that happen, because it does not just happen. A lot of people had to, you know, come together and believe in ordinals and make this very contrarian bet when like the rest of the space completely faded. And like those people get this Runestone that I hope they, you know, cherish and potentially just hold forever. So I think it's a little different when you don't have the one per address.
Totally. Go ahead, Dogfather.
Yeah, it's meant a badge of honor for some reason, right? So if you have 100 of them, then you just sell off some. And then also the collection would be very large, and it would just be even more expensive to drop, right? If I'm not completely wrong. Just on another note, maybe I mean, for us ordinals nerds, I think it's pretty clear that parent-child is like superior to not doing it, but it has a very small implication, and Leo was already talking about that the parent will be burned, that this is really like locking the supply. So there's no more 8 Bitcoin to be made in a second auction, right, Leo? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, you're correct. It's like, it's interesting. If we, you know, theoretically you could auction the parent and, you know, that would be more funds to cover fees specifically for the, you know, Rune token distribution event in the future. As far as, you know, like, I guess it's interesting to maybe if auction, like people would obviously, I know there's a lot of people who'd love to be the collector of that inscription. Ultimately, Satoshi is going to be the collector of that inscription, and it's going to be burned to his address. And that's just how parent-child works. And, you know, could we have done it a different way and the parent wasn't, you know, like that? Maybe, but I don't know. I think there's something cool about just, you know, burning $500,000 or something. Satoshi.
So I got one more question, then I'll start letting people up here. You know, going back to the provenance conversation, you know, our historical NFT days, you know, you're solving for something that we found an issue with some of the early collections on things like Namecoin NFTs and even Counterparty and Doge Party, right? Where there is no parent-child inscription. Like the collections are grouped by social consensus. And Ethereum was really the one that came through and, you know, allowed provenance through, you know, this type of ownership or grouping. So this is why the provenance is so important through parent-child inscription. You know, as ordinals progresses, as Rune progresses, and as Bitcoin gets, you know, potentially hundreds of protocols in the near future, right? This is a historical moment for people, you know, 10 years from now who have no idea what ordinals may be if it's still around. You could go through and find the lineage on chain. So yeah, just kind of wanted to note that. But one kind of, I guess this is like a financial question. You know, you originally raised, I believe the number may be a little bit off here, but around 100,000 USD from, I think it was like 16 contributors. Again, that number might be off. You then went and, you know, inscribed 2 of the largest inscriptions to exist and sold one of them, or auctioned one of them that sold for 500,000. What was the thought behind that? Did you have a feeling that you would end up raising more? Because essentially, right, you are putting some capital to risk. And then if there is any leftover Bitcoin, you know, through both airdrops, what happens to those additional funds?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it's obviously there's like risks associated. Like, what if the auction didn't go well? Like, there's risks with everything. Ultimately, I'm glad it all worked out, and you know, I think it was like an efficient situation of a way to sort of raise this capital to cover fees, which are expensive to do something like this at the scale on Bitcoin. So if we end up with having leftover fees, which we'll see, I think fees are going to be very high when Runes comes out. So if we have that problem, I'll be very happy to have that problem. I basically said, like, these are the exact words. Those fees will be used to cover the fees, the network fees for the Runestone Airdrop initiative. So if we have leftover fees, maybe we'll need to airdrop something else, or maybe we'll have to
big party up at NFT NYC or something.
Well, it has to be on network fees, right? Like, that's what I said. So we have to stick by it. Like, that money goes to Bitcoin miners. So it's like, what do we do with that? I don't know. If we have like 2 BTC left over to rip some 4 megas again, like, maybe we do that. Like, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. It's going to the miners. It's not going to me. And if there's leftover money, that's a great problem to have, and I'm sure we'll do something fun with it.
Absolutely. I mean, did you had planned that out? Was it on your mind from the very beginning that, an auction was going to happen? I mean, I was on a space with you where you talked about how it kind of came together very quickly, almost last minute, but was that on your mind? Like, hey, let's do something big here with a big block. Let's kind of, which I think is pretty brilliant, which is just like, let's plant our, flag here is, look, we've done something substantial and that's going to have kind of inherent value. But did the auction part of that kind of just occur to you after you did it, or was that part of the plan from the beginning?
So I think people who've been following this since the Genesis tweet, which was literally me thinking for about 5 minutes, writing the tweet and sending it out, will realize that a lot of this is, I'm winging a lot of this. Like,
sure.
That is the absolute truth. So, from the start, I was like, I'll help pitch in and organize this if people are willing to do it. And the reception was incredible. So I was like, okay, like, people are willing to pitch in. So I'll move forward with the idea and we'll just take it step by step. And like, of course, it's like, yeah, I would love to do a 4 megger. That was an idea I tweeted out and we were able to make it happen. Like, maybe we weren't able to make it happen, in which case there wouldn't have been a 4 megger and maybe we would have done something else, right? I have lots of ideas for interesting things to do. But, the auction, like, it's interesting. Like, actually, the plan was just burn both of these so that nobody was getting something unfair.
Yep.
But I think it ended up sort of making sense for a bunch of reasons, and a couple people sort of pushed me towards this. And I think it did make sense because ultimately we need to ensure we have the fees to cover this, rather than kind of needing to go around and ask for more donations. I think the auction made a lot of sense. So it ended up all working out. But a lot of these sort of things are either decided by me if I think there needs to be a sort of executive decision, and like, it's sort of the situation right now where it's almost like the decentralized situation is the majority of the community it wants to defer to me because they just want things to move faster.
Yep.
So I'm sort of like taking like those votes to like then go make a decision like this or something, and have the liberty to do that. But there's decisions that are maybe more controversial where we still need to move slow and, have a vote in the Discord, have a conversation. We literally have had conversations for weeks about certain things that have threads in our Discord that have like an insane amount of people interacting and replying there and giving their opinions. So yeah, yeah.
Let's go to Andy real quick. What's up, Andy?
Yo, thanks for having me up. Leo, first, I just want to say congratulations on being the first 100K collection officially to use parent-child provenance.
Well, just to be clear, it's not official yet because we haven't actually done it yet.
Does it have the stamp of official on it yet?
Just soon we can say officially, yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say Rise. I think it's important to just give a shout out to OCM Dimensions 300, which allows you to use this code to create parent-child and use it for the collection. I was wondering if after the drop on the Ordinal show, we can maybe open up the dialogue again to like know who the first 10K collection is on Bitcoin actually. Yeah, like I just want to like just a little bit of FUD, just a little tiny bit of FUD. So no team allocation. Does that mean that every wallet that you have, you're gonna like donate to the Burn wallet? But yeah, I just want to say like, you know, it is awesome. I appreciate just everything that you're doing. You know me, you might not recognize me without my OCM PFP, but yeah, I just wanted to, you know, like, I appreciate the fact that you did parent child. You know, like I haven't shut up about it for a year and a half now. And, you know, to see, you know, it finally coming to the forefront of the space, I think education about the parent child is probably the biggest conversation that needs to be had. And like how it you know, allows for automatic indexing. It allows for you to actually build out your ord.io without having to be in contact with everyone, because like you said, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to founders trying to be in contact with marketplaces, with parent child, you know, and proper indexing. Like this will allow like more free time for the builders, instead of trying to like, you know, they're going to run out of resources trying to please everybody. Parent-child provenance allows for clear indexing. It allows for browsers to read the on-chain provenance. And like, also maybe we could like update your like little image that has like all these other 10K quote unquote collections, and just have OCM like as first, because we all know cursed is first.
Bro.
Holy Jesus.
Yes,
man.
we agree, man. As an OCM holder, I concur. Harumph.
Can I get a bell? Can I get a bell, please? A bell? A bell? Someone?
Oh man. We learned through the time, and the debate of who's first is a losing battle. Again, Adam, Leo, and I, we went through this for years, and this was
will disagree with you.
This was ultimately I just want to state, like, this was ultimately the demise of the historical NFT community, was this just rigorous debate over what's first. And to be honest, everyone has a different definition of what's first. And I'm going to be completely honest here. Like, just continually.
The blockchain does, though. You don't understand. You haven't gone through these discussions. It does, because the reality is even with the conversation with OCM, and there's nobody more bullish on OCM than I am, but the whole idea of it breaks down, because is it the first 10K? Is it the first 10K with parent child? Is it the first, you know, it gets muddy. The waters get muddy. And what Jake is trying to say, and this is completely true, you don't have to listen, but it's completely true. It fractures a powerful community. Right now, Ordinals is a powerful community. And by fracturing it into, no, the frogs are first, or the monkeys are first, or this are first, or that are first, or this was the first free mint, this was it fractures what is a strong and unified community. So take with it what you will. We all still love OCM.
Just be aware of it. Yeah.
Just be aware, bro.
Yeah, it's tough. Also, I want to note there's like 20 people who are requests. So if you're following the host account, you will be boosted to the top. So if you have a request in, just make sure you follow the Emblem account. You will be boosted to the top. And then Chris, just make sure that you manage the flow of people on stage, please. It'll be a little bit easier for me. So just make sure you're following the Emblem account. You'll get boosted to the top, and we'll try to make sure that everyone gets their answer, or their question answered. And so without further ado, Dima, dude, pleasure to meet you in Denver. Finally, brother. How you doing? And do you have any questions for Leo?
Yeah, yo, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I've been following Runes since the Casey blog post, and, you know, I've been on Ordinals for a while now. It's a couple just comments, and then two direct questions for Leo. Speaking of the Runes blog post, the way that you came about for Runestone actually reminds me of Casey just, you know, submitting a blog post and being like, do people want this? Like, is it something that people care about? And there was an overwhelming scramble, you know, to start, you know, people already built their own version of Runes just based off a blog post. And that's kind of, you know, the building out in the open ethos. And, you know, people throw around the word open source. That's not exactly what this is. But building out in the open, which is exactly what you're doing with Runestone, and, you know, with what is going on with Runes. I think people really appreciate that. The entire community really appreciates that. So that is a great way to build. My questions are, bring up Casey again. Naming is super important. Naming in ordinals and, with inscriptions and, runes and etching, inscribing, like he's nailed it with naming. And I know you're not going to tell us the name of the rune that we're mining, unless it's like fucking Runestone coin. I don't know. Check if that's 13 characters. But can you give us any hint on a name? Are you putting a lot of thought into the name? Do you already have the name? Just something I'm curious about. And then if you want to answer that question, then we can do the next one. Good name.
The ticker situation is not something that can really be decided before you actually own the ticker, right? Like you can basically squat on tickers. So, I don't think I think there's a lot of these pre-runes projects that promised they would be the first rune and all this stuff. And they're just making all these ridiculous statements that just like anybody who took 10 seconds to study runes realizes how absurd it is. So if I came out and said, we're going to be, I don't know, I'm not even going to say something right now. Just
say it, dude. Say it.
We're going to be some ticker, right? What's going to happen is there's no way we're ever going to get that ticker because somebody's going to get it and they're going to DM me, hey, would you like to buy this for $5 million? And I don't, I'm not going to buy a ticker from someone. It's not going to happen. So yeah, we'll figure out the ticker after the halving. It's like very hard to have that conversation prior to the halving. Like literally doing so actually hurts the ability to get a good ticker. So we can discuss themes. I think themes are good. I don't think, we can choose literally whatever we want. So if the community, really rallies around a certain theme, we can do that. I definitely have some ideas for some interesting stuff. I don't necessarily think it even has to be anything to do with the idea of Runestone or a rock like that. It could literally be any meme we want. Bitcoin is king. We can take any meme from any other chain that we want, put it here, and it'll be bigger and better, right? So we can do whatever we want. And I'm confident we'll figure out something quite left curve and have a pretty sick meme coin. And I'm not an idiot, right? So we're gonna do a proper meme coin.
Yeah. Great answer. So it's not. By the way, Runestone coin is 13 characters. It's probably gonna be something more like Geo Bowden 69 MAGA coin or something ridiculous. Okay, and then my second question is, I would love just a little more detail about what we were describing with the parent-child 1,400 per block. You're not saying that. You're saying that the maximum is 1,400 per transaction or per block, and you're not saying that it's going to take up the entire block space, right? That's not what is the limitation here? It's a limitation on the ORD client, limitation on the number of outputs. I don't fully understand.
The limitation is that in a standard Bitcoin transaction, you can have 400 kilobytes of data. And it turns out that essentially inscribing and then transferring to the correct addresses, you can do 1,400 and 1,400 delegate inscriptions with that amount of data. So that's literally it. So there will be 400, it'll actually end up being less than 400 kilobyte, but one 350 kilobyte transaction per block. And you need the parent to be in that transaction. So you can't have two transactions. You can't have two 1,400 batches in the block because that stat needs from that, that parent needs to be part of that UTXO. So
because the block is atomic, you can't, I get it. You have to have that sat be in one block and then be in the next block and then the next block. Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering if you had to spend a fucking insane amount of money to do that. And you're going to, but less than maybe my brain thought of.
Yeah, we don't have to take over.
That would be bad.
There was an idea to work with Marathon to do this, but I think it just ultimately doesn't make any sense. Just fire off the large batch transactions and do it 84 times. It'll all be fine.
I was going to say 84 Bitcoin blocks, while it's long, it's not that long, right? And everyone's going to be waiting and just checking was I in this block?
It's long. It's Dima, it's very long in degen eternity. It is an eternity in degen time. So I can guarantee you, literally 30 minutes into this situation, I'm going to literally get 1,000 DMs. Where the fuck is my runestone? So, unfortunately, it
else crushing it. Very bullish on Runes and Runestone, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it, Dima. And just I think Andy asked the interesting question. Algorithm, and that almost felt like really vain or something weird to do that. Like adjust the algorithm just for me. So I ended up just like saying, I'll just get the 9 Runestones. I'm gonna give a few of them away to Leo, like the artist. Hold the rest. Like I want to collect the Runestone too, right? So it's like I'm getting like under 0.01%. You know, it's like if you want to FUD that I got a few and gave a few away, like, you know, go ahead. Have that. You know, I have no plans. It's not like I'm gonna like go be selling them or something, right? Like that's obviously a really terrible look. So they're pretty much a liquid. That's the situation there, more or less.
Good question. We're gonna go to 3D and then we'll go to Bree right afterwards.
What's up, guys? GM. It is very nice to be up here with all y'all legends. To start off, I would have to say, Leonidas, man, you had me at 3D. I mean, I was sold on 3D. So I guess if I had a question, the only one I would have is are my expectations too high that the airdrop will also be a 3D file, or are you still keeping what the airdrop actually is under wraps, for one? And two, as an artist, and how do you feel about the 3D space? I was doing 3D before it was cool, and it's really kind of taken off, and you know, we're tickling words like metaverse and things like that around, and another word that gets tanked around a lot is a game asset, where so I kind of wanted to know your feelings as an artist on the 3D space, and any alpha on if there's more 3D coming.
So specifically for Runestone, everybody's getting the same Runestone. So we're using this feature of the Ordinals protocol called delegation. Interestingly, like we weren't going to do this at first, and then Casey kind of chimed in and was like, you guys should definitely use delegation. So of course it was like, you know, when you realize like this is a super efficient way to do this, we'll use delegation. So essentially you'll go to your Ordinals wallet, your marketplace, you'll see in your address an inscription that looks identical to the Runestone inscription. The only difference is it wasn't the actual inscription that put that 4 megabyte file on chain, that 3.96 megabyte file on chain. You're essentially pointing to other on-chain content. It would obviously be insane for us to do 112,000 4 megabyte inscriptions, right? So, you know, everybody gets the same one. And part of that is like, I want to be fair with the rarity, right? Like we don't want there to be a bunch of different colors or different this or different that, where like some people get lucky. Like, no, they're all the exact same. I think it creates for a really simple market when you do that. So it has more of like a mass appeal when they're all the same like that. So everybody can collect their Runestone. This is how POAP works. Again, there's a lot of inspiration coming there from POAP, and you'll get a Runestone. It'll look and feel the same, and you'll be able to click the AR button and do all of that. As far as 3D goes, I've loved 3D from the moment I saw people inscribing 3D onto Bitcoin. So Board.io, almost a year ago now, added a tab on our homepage for 3D assets where we index these 3D files. And about a month or two later, we added the ability to click this little icon if you're on your phone and open it up in augmented reality and like project it into your living room. And the novelty of that still has not worn off for me. I love doing that. When I see somebody inscribe some cool new 3D file, I'll, you know, throw it out into my backyard or something. So it's really fun. Like I pinned a tweet above if anybody wants to go check it out. Like highly encourage, if you just want to do something fun for the next minute, go to that tweet, click the link, click the AR button. You have to be on your phone, and then project it into your room. Make it, you know, 10 feet tall, and then you can actually go with your phone and really get close to it and see the detail. It's much better than viewing it just natively on your phone in a browser. So highly encourage people to check that out. And if you want to make it 100-foot tall in your backyard, do that too. If you want your dog to, people are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like somebody put it in their toilet. It's literally been in like every city around the world at this point. It's pretty funny. I love seeing my feed, my notifications. Every 10 minutes, somebody is like a screenshot or video of this runestone being projected into somewhere around the world, which I just find hilarious. And please keep it up. As far as 3D files go, though, there's a bunch of 3D files on Bitcoin now. It's clearly a thing. Some really early ones that are cool. The artist Far created this like 3D building. It's like an architectural 3D building, and he actually used Door.io to project it into this outdoor space, and then like went in and walked inside of it and like shared a video of it. I was just like so impressed by that. So there's a lot of cool 3D files out there. The creator of the GLTF standard, which we use for Runestone and which most 3D files are using, tweeted about Runestone and actually put a Runestone on his desk, which I thought was just, made my day. And I love 3D files. I think it's so much more interesting than JPEGs. It's like, everybody does JPEGs. Like there's nothing wrong with JPEGs. Like I get it. But the reality is the future version of the internet is not JPEGs. It's not 2D JPEGs. It's a 3D immersive space. So like I said, longevity is important to me here. I think 3D ages incredibly well. I would go as far as to say in 10 years, the majority of value of NFTs will be in 3D files, because it's like, do you want to hang a JPEG on your wall, or do you want this like crazy 3D sculpture thing in your metaverse house? I think most people will start to shift art towards being 3D just because, you're going to be in a space that's 3D. Versus right now, we're all on 2D screens, and therefore people are making art for that medium, but that's not the medium of the future. We know the medium of the future is 3D. So that's what we're building towards.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And I couldn't second that more. And just before I go, just kudos to you. I'm in a group-based artists, and we're not about the money. We're about creativity. We're about helping each other, and we're about the spontaneity of art. And it's so refreshing to have someone with your influence in the space realizing that we have to keep this about art. We have to keep this about the beautiful spontaneity of art. And thanks for being a Dejan in this.
Wait, is this about the art, or is this about the memes, brother? I thought this was about the memes.
Well, memes are art, baby.
Hey,
memes
there you go, baby.
Let's go.
We're creating a classy meme coin, Adam.
High class, baby.
High class.
That's a new generation, right? New generation of memes. So we'll go to Bree, and then Scribe, and then Arkid. And then also for anyone requesting, make sure you follow the Emblem account so that you can be led on stage, as it looks like about almost 15 different requests. So just go ahead and make sure, and Chris will be running and allowing speakers on stage. So go ahead. Is it BR? All I can see is BRI. Is that Bree?
Oh yeah, it's Brick, man. Thanks.
What's up, Brick?
yeah. That's all good, man. I appreciate you, let me up here, and thanks to Emblem Vault for the invite, man. This is pretty cool, man. I love the whole concept of fair airdrop, and so congratulations, Leonidas. This is a huge undertaking, man. So props to you, man, for getting this done, for everybody that's been in the space for such a long time, just grinding and being there every day. So yeah, just want to say congratulations. And I made a post the other day because I saw that you had put an Easter egg in the Runestone, man, and I think that's cool that you kind of put something hidden in there for everybody. My question is there going to be more? Is there another Easter egg, or is it just one? Or
yeah, so hidden Easter egg in there for fun. It's not like incredibly difficult to find, but you got to go look for it. And yeah, people want to go find that, go for it. It's not anything other than just having fun. So don't have any sort of other kind of Easter egg specifically like that one. But yeah, like there's Easter eggs in that. There's aspects of everything here that I don't think people fully appreciate or understand. But that was like a true Easter egg, and I think if you want to go find that, that's fun. But it's not going to make you any money. It's not like you're getting to claim something or anything like this. It's literally just for fun.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. Yeah, I found an Easter egg too. I wanted to share it at the top, if that's okay, Emblem Vault.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Yeah, if everybody could just go up there and take a look. And that's the only question I have, man. But just congratulations again, and shout out to my Based Artist fam and Hoodie Gang for life.
Love it, Brick. I think on the Easter egg point, I didn't really go into details at all about that Easter egg, but the Easter egg, the idea is like it's a commentary on who's getting the runestone. I think I put this tweet out the other day that sort of gave my thinking on this, but it was like, I see all these airdrops, and fundamentally what's happening is there's just this army of people who they're very smart. They're harvesting, they're farming these airdrops, and they don't care about the thing at all. They didn't really earn or do anything. And the people who we want to get the runestone are the people who, like, the ideal person to receive the runestone was somebody who stuck around, like was part of this protocol, part of this community in its darkest hour, right? Like if you were here in September of 2023, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You know exactly what I'm saying. It was the market was new. The 99% down in volume articles were floating around. Literally everyone, like almost everyone, gave up. They thought this was completely over. They've given up on the idea that Bitcoin could do this cool stuff. And there was just a group of people who stuck around and like, dude, these are the kind of people I want to get runestones. And like, it's awesome. We welcome newcomers to the space. If you want to come to Bitcoin, because, it's obviously super exciting now. We want to welcome people. But like, the idea was not, let's bring new people to Bitcoin. Like, you could do an airdrop and that's the goal. But that wasn't what runestone was. It also wasn't, let's, do some, farming thing to create a bunch of engagement or something like this. It also wasn't that. It was, I want to get a runestone and the people who were here when ordinals were dead. And like, I think we've done a decent job of that. So that was the point, and that's what that Easter egg was about.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it again. Thanks for all the hard work, man. Keep it up, man.
We're going to go to Scribe, and then we'll go to Giabiza after.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay? I wasn't able to hear Brick.
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. First of all, Emblem Vault was pivotal early on when I needed to move some ETH wrapped assets over. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to Leo for Ordio. That's also been instrumental in my journey. Being able to track your assets and create a profile, leave comments. It's the MySpace of Ordinals. So that's incredible. A great tool you and Zach built. Also, Ordinal Show, I don't know how you guys do 6 hours at a time. Sometimes the times are incredible. I have a weekly show with my guy Plutoshi. We talk runes on ODM and 2 hours, and I'm gassed. So I don't know how you sustain 6 and 7 hours. It's hard for me to even listen that long, let alone speak. So kudos to you on that. But I've got some questions that are more rune specific, not necessarily the ordinal, but the runes that are coming later on after the halving. And I'm not sure how many people are aware or paid attention to the Ordicord with Raf and Casey last week. But apparently a rune can have an inscription parent. That's one feature. So I assume that with the provenance that you're employing here, we'll see something similar, where maybe the one that was bought by Buoyant Capital could be the parent if they lend it back to you, and you can inscribe, or I'm sorry, etch the runes as children of that. That would be a unique thing to see. But more curious to me is what Casey mentioned is recursive endpoints that can tell you a rune balance based off of an inscription. And he referenced a Pokemon inscription that could be powered up based off of how many Pokemon runes were in the output. So, rune inscription metaverse is what he's calling it. And I'm just wondering, a little bit more detail about the runes themselves, any sort of plans that you might have. I know you can't divulge a lot. Supply, maybe. Ticker name, definitely not. But, and again, this is kind of built for degens and gambling, the protocol itself. And I'm not a gambler myself. I don't know that many people are. You don't really want to facilitate people being able to lose, although a lot of people can win. It's devastating when people lose. So I don't anticipate seeing that. But I'm curious as to what might happen with the runes themselves as far as being tied to inscriptions. Do you have any thoughts there you can share?
Yeah, so my sort of high-level thoughts here are, I think it's novel, it's cool. I think there's projects that are going to do that. It's really neat that you can do that. I want to keep this like as simple as possible. I'd say the more simplistic we can keep this, the more mass appeal this has, the more sort of comfortable just the average person who gets a runestone feels with holding that and being part of this. If you have a bunch of mining mechanics and indexers and issuing new inscription assets at the halving with the runes, you sort of like complicate the narrative. And again, just the time I've spent in this sort of space, I've come to appreciate things that are simple. I've come to appreciate things that don't have utility. I've come to value when something is just that thing and you're not wrapping it in like 10 different things to try to make it like more appealing or something, right? So if you need to do something or want to do something, then do it, right? Like for example, doing a 4-megger. Yes, it was awesome to actually mine the largest Bitcoin block ever. That makes a statement. That's all great. But also there was this practical aspect of, I'm working with Leo on this art, on this piece of the runestone, and it looked like shit if you had 400 kilobytes to work with. So it's like very from an art perspective, it allowed us to create something much more compelling when we had 4 megabytes to work with. So with something like the inscription art for the runes, if we were to do something like that, it would be intentional. It would not just be to be doing it so that I could tweet that we did it necessarily, right? Everything we're doing is very much oriented around, there's like a purpose. The parent-child, it's not just so that we could say we're the largest parent-child collection by far, ever. It's not just for like the technical feat of executing that. It's mostly around me wanting to make sure that the provenance is secure, and provenance is extremely important for store of value. So if we do something along the lines of what you're saying, it would be to serve a purpose. It wouldn't just be for the novelty to like have an image attached to the rune or something like this. So that's the way to think about it. And, I'm open-minded around that, but I tend to think that it increases complexity. And then in people's minds, there are these rune stones, and then there's these rune token, and then now there's this other asset that was issued. I think it's fairly straightforward for people to understand that you're getting this rune stone, and you earned that for participating in the first year of Ordinals. And that's like your badge of honor. It's your memento from that moment in time that I hope you hold for a very long time that reminds you of that. And that will be a vehicle that gets you this meme coin rune token in a few months here. And you'll still have that memento, that beautiful piece of art in your wallet that you can just kind of collect. And I would imagine, after the meme coin is sort of pulled out of that, then the value in that goes down because a lot of the value was related to getting a meme coin. But I'm hoping that there's still value in that kind of memory. So there's this collectible art POAP kind of memory that you have of this moment in time that we're living through. And then there's also the meme coin. And that's how to think about this. And the piece of art is the vehicle for that meme coin for the next month or so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thanks. I mean, you're right. There's beauty in simplicity. There's beauty in complexity, but with the meme, the more complexity you add to it, the more you're going to have to tend to it and nurture it and shepherd it. And being a community-based project led by multiple people who are just volunteering their time and efforts, that's going to be hard to sustain because you're going to have to, manage repos and all sorts of different things. So that makes sense. Any other details about maybe the supply that you might want to share, or if you want to play that closer to the vest? I get that. And then just one little nugget for people out there listening. We know you're going to be eager to receive the runestone themselves, but then when the runes are actually etched, there's the high probability of a reorg because of just the congestion with the epic sat and the runes coming out. So most likely 6 blocks after block 840K is when you will know that a reorg is not going to happen. The problem there is that any runes that are etched in one of those blocks that are not fully confirmed, they'll be invalidated, right? So that's problematic. So I assume that everybody should just kind of temper their expectations and not expect to have runes drop into their wallet magically at block 840.001. Give it a few blocks. If it's taking 3 days to get the runestone because of the parent-child provenance and the complexity of sending those transactions, just expect and anticipate a little bit of a delay in the runes so that we can ensure that there's not a reorg, because this is probably going to happen.
Yeah, I can go ahead and tell you, like, we're not trying to be like 6 blocks in even. Like this runestone has nothing to do with being the first rune or something like this. Like, it may totally make sense to wait 2 weeks after runes comes out to let fees go down a little bit to do this, right? There's no massive rush with trying to be right at the start. I really think it actually makes more sense to be thoughtful. Let's gather a bunch of really cool tickers, vote on it, or something like that. Seems more interesting to me. So, yeah, it's a great shout out. As far as the complexity thing you're saying, I actually agree. Like, complexity is interesting, but I only like complexity when there's like a purpose behind it. What I see way too much in this space is like somebody has a smart contract and they just decide to make it very complex, but they're not like, what's the goal like, what are you trying to accomplish? What problem are you trying to solve? And very rarely do you ever get a good answer with that. So it's like NFT staking, great example. 2021, literally, you could go in any Discord ever, and all people would be talking about is how do I stake the NFT, when staking. People didn't know why they wanted staking. People didn't know even what staking really meant. They just knew they wanted to stake an NFT. And it was so, it's one of those things where like I could see it clear as day. And it's like, why would I want to stake my NFT? Like, why am I nesting my Moonbird? Like, this is the dumbest shit of all time. And staking is an absolute turned out that was. So we don't need to create all this crazy shit for no reason, right? Guys, like, if you have a real reason to do something, then do it. But don't just create a bunch of Ponzi shit for no reason. It's like really overplayed, and it really only works on people who are like going up in the past year. I guess it's novel to the newcomer, but like, yeah, try to actually accomplish something, right? Like, I think the beauty of CryptoPunks is the simplicity of what they created and the statement that made. And you don't need to do CryptoPunks and then like 100 things on top of it. Like, just CryptoPunks was the thing. Yeah.
Okay, great question, Scribe. Great question.
Also, you asked about supply. We'll figure it out together. Let's have discussions in the Discord after the airdrop, this first airdrop, and see. I'm totally open-minded. We could go high supply, low supply, whatever we want to do. I'm down with.
Leo, he kind of did bring up a good question. Then I'll call on GBs after this. Like, if you guys are voting on a name in public, is there a fear that somebody is just going to go ahead and mint or etch all of those names while the voting is still ongoing?
Yeah. So here's kind of what I'll say there, right? You can't even have the conversation about the ticker until after the halving. And after the halving, to have the conversation about the ticker, you need to have actually secured the ticker. So I'll give like one example for an idea I had. We just say, hey, everybody go claim the coolest tickers that you can, send it to this address, send the entire supply to this address, and then we can vote on the one that we think is the coolest, or we can have discussions around the one that we like the most. And then that can be the one we go with. So something more along the lines of that, I think, makes sense. And I'm very skeptical of anyone who is claiming they're going to have anybody claiming they're going to be the first rune or one of the earliest runes, or be a specific ticker, or any of this stuff. Like you can't have that conversation now. It's not even a question. So I think a lot of people have been like sort of, I would just argue, like misled, and that sort of like overflows into this project because then people have the same expectations here. And I have no intention of misleading people, right? Like we cannot guarantee any tickers. We cannot guarantee being a first rune, and that's the situation. So we'll figure that out after block 840,000.
Yeah, I think that's a great process because there is front running prevention built into the protocol. And the way that works is you can broadcast the transaction with the ticker. And it is not really revealed to the public until the second transaction happens. But if you have, say, 10 tickers that people have voted on, there's nothing stopping anybody else from going to jump on those 10. So having the community choose and then having them already secured and then voting which one becomes the one, that's a great plan.
Let's go to Jabiza.
Yo, what's up, fam? Thanks so much for holding the space. And Leo, what did you do? You reward people in this space without that they needed to grind. Because since 2009, I'm in crypto. I'm fucking bullish. I mine. I'm 3 years in Web3.
2009, dude, what are you doing here, bro? You should be fucking retired, living on the moon, bro. What are you doing?
No, I made mistakes like everybody. I didn't know what it was and all the stories more. But listen, 3 years ago, I came into Web3, and I've been since then grinding my ass off. At one point, when I found almost more than a year ago out about ordinals, I was inscribing Discord with spreadsheets. It gave me the feeling from when internet was not there. I've been running bulletin boards. I've been in this scene already for a long time. Anyway, when we started, I bought 350 ordinals from one collection, 400 from another collection. We didn't really know how many we could have in one wallet. So I made 150 wallets. So a lot of us who were there from day one, they made the same because we only thought that we could have only 1 or 2 ordinals in a wallet. Later on, I put 4 or 5. So Leo, I am already eligible for 75 runestones, my friend. And I didn't even go continue in looking at all the other ones. So if we're talking about whales, and I know some people who made 200 wallets who were in the same crew as I was, 100, 150. So Leo, I thank you again from the community, from all of us, from the bottom of our hearts, for what you did, for making us life-changing money without fucking grinding. We want to get stoned.
First of all, congratulations. I would call you a lucky whale.
Yep.
Luck is for mediocre people, man. I deserve it. That's it.
So wait, I just want to understand. I'm just like purely curious. Like, why exactly did you have it set up? Because like, there's many people that also have 150 wallets, but like,
yes,
it's kind of weird to have 3 JPEGs in each one. So like,
yeah.
Can you just explain like what your setup was? And because basically, like, there's a small group of people who kind of lucked out.
Yes.
From that.
What was
your logic?
A lot of us, when we were starting, and it was with one project where we need to buy the JPEGs and then inscribe ourselves, and then it will be indexed in a collection. It was really in the beginning. I'm talking really about the beginning scene, the beginning stage. And I bought 350 because I had a big belief in ordinals. I don't know why, but I mine, and the only thing that I can do with Bitcoin was mining or paying. So now we could do something different. I was already 3 years in NFT, been at more Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, all the other things. So we thought we didn't have any info. So we didn't know how much of how many ordinals we could put in a wallet. So we were putting some people put 1, some people put 2. I put 5 in every wallet. So I had really,
Bro, that
you know,
was
no,
like-
I'm telling,
that was
no.
an
This is
decision.
okay. I know this is it. This is the most beautiful thing. What is without knowledge? I'm saying I'm grinding my ass off. People for stuff for whitelist and sweating my ass, whatever. And now we did something what we didn't know what we were doing. And I'm talking about a lot of people who are here with me, who started in the beginning, really in the beginning, in Feb last year, man, I'm talking about. So they have a lot. Here, Brick there, you know, Bean, Alexa. It's a lot of people from
Bro,
the
you're
old
calling
school.
out all the whales up here, man. You're not supposed to tell people who the whales are, bro.
These are the people who all have big wallets.
Oh, man.
And all, hopefully, they left. So I got rocked by a few projects, and these rugging projects make me actually the Runestone. So
Let's
thanks
go.
fucking God for everything, man. This is Web3. This is why I love it. So again, out of the bottom of my heart, Leonidas, thank you, bro. Big love.
There's actually a lot of people who have shared that. They got rugged on some collection at some point in the last year. The JPEG is literally worthless. But like that JPEG was the third JPEG in their wallet that like pushed them over the edge.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's amazing. So you help the people who got drugged. You're like the Robin Hood of the Web3, man. This is how we're going to call you. Leonidas, the Robin Hood of the Web3. Take from the fucking rich and give to the poor. Decentralization, baby.
Woo. Bro.
Wow. Yeah, it makes me wonder how many wallets are lost, or like I know BTC Machine had done these airdrops where they just sent random ordinals to so many different wallets, and I know there's a few of mine personally that I think I've lost that are holding those. I'm curious on how many of those wallets exist and what the actual true supply of Runestone is. Maybe we'll find out 6 months from now when you look at some of these wallets and have seen, you know, X percentage of these wallets have never moved to Runestone, and we could start coming up with the like inactive wallet kind of metric and get a true kind of market cap, kind of similar to Bitcoin with these dead wallets and stuff. So that will be a little bit interesting. I do want to call on a few of the other speakers on stage who maybe don't have their hand up, but maybe have a question. We'll go to Petty first, and then we'll go to Mr. J, and then Pi right after.
Yeah, hey guys, happy to speak here, happy to be here. Yeah, I just wanted to say hello, like appreciating everything you're doing. I'm happy to be on stage. Hope you can hear me well because actually the train connection is bad, it's loud. But yeah, so I wanted to say that I think Runestone will be one of the top runes collections. I'm there since like day one when it comes to the rune stuff. Like I'm like really deep diving into this topic and like having RuneCoin on their radar right from the beginning, and then Rune Guardians and like Runestone, and those projects are really like the ones who stand out. And like I think RuneCoin could be the top leader here. Runestone, sorry. I'm getting messed up with the names. It's like everyone is called Rune, so but yeah, I think Runestone will definitely be a top leader here, like reaching a multi-billion market cap. And like yeah, I don't know, I'm just super excited. Times to be here in the space, in the ordinal space and Rune space. Yeah, there will come so much possibilities like DEXs because of fungible tokens. Yeah, it's just insane. Like appreciate what you're doing, guys. Keep building.
Mr. J, go ahead, and then we'll go to Pi if either of you have questions. God.
Yo, I came up to actually just say thanks, Leonidas, for being really actually 谢谢你. You're very inclusive. I saw your tweets with multiple languages, and I found that really interesting that you focused on communities coming from the east, west, wherever actually. So yeah, this is really something that's not really done in this space, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. So thanks, man. And also, if you, I know it's a bit too early as well, but are there any plans for runestones on layer 2?
It's so funny you asked that. Like, there's a bunch of people that want me to like endorse a bridge to help do for runestones and stuff. And look, I mean, it's a decentralized asset. If you hold a runestone, you can bridge it anywhere you want. You could Emblem vault it, sell it on Ethereum. Like, you guys can do whatever you want. I'm not going to endorse anything specifically, right? It's not like I think it's viewed as like you need my permission to do things, or like you need my endorsement. And the reality is, you know, if you want to build something around Runestone, or, you know, do something on top of Runestone, just go do it. If it's like viewed as a scam by the community, you're probably going to get racked. You know, from an optics perspective, I'm probably going to tweet that I think it's a scam. If you do something cool, then I'll embrace it. The community will probably embrace it. I'll probably tweet about how I think it's cool. But yeah, there's no like official partnerships. I mean, it's honestly insane. I think people are like looking to basically do these like partnership situations with Runestone, and there's no need to do a partnership. We don't need a partnership. Like,
bro, some fanny packs would be nice, you know, for holders, man. I mean, can you make some fanny packs happen, bro? Come on, man.
I could probably get some fanny packs. Like, some of these people really want to be partners, so you could probably get everyone to fanny packs. But it's like, you have to really ask yourself, like, is that really what this is about? Getting the fanny pack? And like, maybe we just have the tokens and you guys build fun shit on top of it, and like, you don't have to ask me for permission.
That's great, man, because I was going to turn runestones into candy and grind them up and enjoy them.
You're going to make an edible runestone and eat it?
That's a good idea.
That's a darn good idea.
Edible runestones. I mean, it's CC0.
Bro, if they
so
could have weed in them too, that'd be even
better,
better, man. Better.
Yeah, man. Make some THC in there, buddy.
Runestone? Fuck, the name and everything, bro. This works, man. Shit just works.
Yeah,
imagine
literally
like
getting
stone edible. You just like pop a little runestone. Get a little milligram.
That's the real Easter egg in there,
Are
man.
you getting stoned yourself?
Yo, it's wild. The getting stoned thing's interesting, right? So I did not think this fully through. I was on a space with Trevor and Farmer Joe, and they were both saying that your marketing, your branding for this isn't left curve enough. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do some left curve marketing. And I literally an hour later, I was like, are you guys ready to get stoned? And I've like tweeted that every day for like 2 months now. And I think people are getting tired of it. I think
Come on, tell us, are you getting stoned or what? We all want to know. Do you
Like,
smoke a bone? Come on.
We're building up. We're building up towards it. But what I was saying was, the issue with "Are you ready to get stoned" is that apparently it doesn't translate well into any other language.
Sure.
So the idea of getting stoned, that's like an English term for, obviously it's a play on, you know, getting baked, smoking marijuana, right? So pretty much that doesn't translate into any language. They don't have that concept. So the translation is, are you ready to be stoned to death? In all these other languages, I'm like, oh my God. Like, they don't just say like, are you ready to get stoned, as in like, are you ready to get like stoned? Because that's also, stone can mean that in English, but like they actually add the word to death in it. And I'm seeing this like everywhere. It's very disturbing, actually. Like, that was not the intention at all. And you know, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So it is what it is. But, you know, obviously that was not an intentional piece of the marketing here, folks. I don't want anyone getting stoned to death.
I think Pi was next. Pi, you up? You there? Yeah, I don't know if Pi's rugged.
Yeah. It's possible.
Chill.
Well, Pi, if you're not there, Leo, I have 2 final questions, and then maybe if anybody else wants to come up, make sure you follow the Emblem account. We'll do one final round of questions. One final question, or the 2 final ones that I have here. It looks like Pi is rugged. You know, you mentioned earlier in the beginning of this conversation, you know, that you're working on many things. Obviously, you built Ord.io, which has, you know, been very prolific in terms of, you know, discovery for assets and as an explorer. What's the current state of Ord.io? Just take us through your experience of, you know, managing, you know, I would say one of the top explorers for ordinals over the last year. What kind of insight has that provided to you in terms of, you know, building runestones and kind of understanding what the community wants here, and what's the future of Or.io as you begin to build it out now, almost celebrating a year.
Wow, yeah, it's crazy. We're coming up on a year. We're gonna do something special on the 28th for that. I think people will like. Yeah, it's Or.io started as just Zach and I being like, hey, let's build an explorer for all of these files people are inscribing onto Bitcoin. Honestly, we had no idea Ordinals would be as successful as it has so quickly. And let's allow people to upvote those files so that the coolest ones show up at the top of our homepage. Like, that was the idea of Or.io. And it turned out that was like pretty successful, right? Like, our homepage does a pretty good job of, Casey inscribes a child inscription, and on inscription 0 last night, like in the middle of the night. And then like instantly it's appearing at the top of Or.io. So it's like the system works. And I think it's a fun way to sort of discover inscriptions that you can't really get on other sites, because you're basically like scrolling through just a ton of inscriptions, trying to find something interesting, or you're kind of going like somebody's independently curated art or something like this. And this is just like, what is degen ordinal space, choose to upvote. And that's what you see on the homepage of Or.io. And it's a wreck, it's a mess, but it's also kind of hilarious. And there's also some amazing art mixed in there, and it's all really fun. So what do we want to, build in the long run? It's a really good question. I think the long-term vision is really focusing on building a Bitcoin native platform that's like a steward for these, assets that Casey's created, right? Like, we are very much believers in Casey's version of Web3 on Bitcoin. So we get asked all the time, can you index our special thing? Can you index this? We've literally said no to every single one of those requests. Probably would be good for our users to index them. Probably would be, in our best interest to index a bunch of this other stuff. And we just decided not to. Like, if it came out of Casey's mouth, we will index it. Otherwise, we're not indexing it. We're staying very true to the Ordinals protocol, because I believe that's what is in the long-term sort of best interest of our users. I strongly believe if a file is inscribed into Bitcoin as an ordinal inscription, somebody will create an explorer in 100 years and it'll look exactly the same as it is on Or.io today. And I don't feel that way about almost all of these other meta protocols. I think it's derivatives. I think it's like interesting, but yeah, like we're not indexing it. Like, we're bullish on ordinals, and if you want to do something, make it work within the ordinals protocol. It's a very flexible protocol. Most everything you want to do can probably be done through ordinals some way. And yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of like, there's 3 people around the world running this like special indexer for this thing. And there's just almost a certainty that in 2 years, those people will not be running those indexers. So very bullish on Casey and his version of Web3 on Bitcoin. So yeah, building a platform first focused on exploring and discoverability, like that, I think will always be our bread and butter. Whether we add, I think lots of people have speculated that you'll be able to buy and sell on Or.io in the future. And there's a lot of other things we could obviously do. Not sharing any announcements about that today, but it's all like our core is always going to be around social discoverability. I think that's super important. And I think it's what's really special about Or.io. Like, we don't want to just create the 20th, identical marketplace or something for ordinals. Like, that doesn't really add any value to the ecosystem. We want to do something that's not been done before. So that's what Or.io is today. And we're going to kind of keep trying to create fun things around that. And, we obviously, I think, are somewhat known for kind of creating these attributes and being the first to index inscriptions on rare sats. And we created these different categories, and it's been amazing to watch that whole rare sat community sort of just, rally around these different icons and the color schemes and the indexes there, and expand and build on that. And we plan to add more attributes in the future. So that's like a super high level. It's nothing super specific. We are hiring. So if anybody is a strong software engineer, especially with experience on Bitcoin, please reach out to me. We're expanding our team pretty fast here.
Nice.
So yeah.
Let's go to Steven. What's up, man?
Yo, GM Leo, quick question for you. Actually, it's kind of a two-parter. The first one should be relatively simple. with what you guys have going on or.io right now, are there any, I mean, I know that you can like sort by generals like HTML and image and SVG and be more specific like that, but are there plans to add more like, call it complex tags in the future so that you can search by like art or by like communities like 10Ks? Is there anything that you have in the works like that right now?
This is something that's very important for discoverability. We've done a few initial experiments around this. So right now we have these tabs by file type, like you mentioned. And then we've tried to, be a little liberal with creating those, and we have I think 11 tabs right now. And we also have this sort of sync engine that processes every inscription. And actually we use an AI to tag every inscription with whatever the AI vision sees is inside that inscription. So if it thinks the inscription is a dog with a hat, that inscription, you'll see there's a tag section on the inscription details pages, and it'll say dog, it'll say hat for those tags. So you can actually click those tags and see all of the other inscriptions with hats or dogs. So that's one initial just kind of fun iteration of that, Stephen. I think it would be really cool. Again, we're not a fan of us just working with artists and curating the art ourselves. We would much rather allow some sort of crowdsourced tagging mechanism that allows people, even potentially the creator or owner of an inscription, to tag what that inscription is, and it would kind of put it in this decentralized sort of category. That's not a collection. It's not a curated section. It's just a tag that you added to the inscription that you own or that you created or something along these lines. I think that could be pretty fun. So tagging is definitely probably the way you do this. It's very similar to hashtags on Twitter or something like this, where everybody can kind of group things together by assigning a hashtag. So something along those lines would be pretty fun in the future, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, look, I love the answer. And I would love to, continue chatting with you more about it offline. I know we've talked a couple of times in just other spaces, but that's been something that's been consistently on my mind because I know a lot of the art community wants to have a better discoverability angle. So I'm definitely interested in figuring out how that best works with ordinals. The actual Runestone related question I wanted to put to you real quick actually had more to do with a very niche concept that was pioneered by Danny Yang with OCM and when they bridged over. Was there any thought given when you were determining how it had to be 3 ordinals in a wallet, before a certain date, about navigating if it was an inscription that was tied to a former inscription? Because with OCM, I think it's 4 different inscriptions are tied to one. Did those type of inscriptions count, or was it that did you find out some type of logic to work around that?
No, pretty much the idea was make it out just taking a step back here. The whole point and the whole objective of the discussions around creating an eligibility algorithm was how can we create something that's the most fair? Fair isn't we're never going to achieve what truly is fair, right? It's you can't achieve perfect, but you can have trade-offs and make the least trade-offs possible. So one of the things that we were optimizing for was how do we create something that is not only fair, but is perceived as fair? So let's say we create this super fair thing and we exclude a bunch of stuff and then include a bunch of stuff and, have thousands of lines of code and create this algorithm that we think perfectly rewards people based on how we think they should be valued. Well, unfortunately, that has a perception of not being fair because the assumption in this space is that Leonidas went in and rewarded his low inscription buddies and went in and, made OCM not eligible because they did it this unique way and all this stuff. And there's this perception of altering and tampering with it. If it's a very high level, simple to understand, you held 3 of these inscriptions that are not text or JSON based at block height 826,600, you get a runestone. And that was very important to the aspect of fair. It turns out fair is not just literally fair in the algorithm, but perception of fair was very important. So that is one important aspect of designing this algorithm that I think people need to sort of understand, because we could have, of course, created super advanced algorithms, but ultimately, yeah, could we have gone in and said, hey, OCM does this weird thing where they have 3 inscriptions on the same stat. So if you held one OCM, you get 3 inscriptions and carve them out. Sure, we could have done that, but ultimately they did hold 3 inscriptions, and they are like pretty distributed. There's a bunch of holders, so it's not that different than any other collection. And yeah, we included cursed inscriptions as well. We included reinscription. So yeah, those are inscriptions. Somebody paid to put that data on chain, so it counts, right? It's valid.
Awesome. Yeah, look, I appreciate the answer. It was just something that I was pondering, and I wasn't sure if there was something that you guys thought about, but the way you answered it gave a lot more context to how it all actually was thought about behind the scenes. So I certainly hope, I know that I appreciate it. I hope the audience can appreciate that fact too. So thank you.
It looks like we've got 2 final speakers. I can't tell is Pi on stage? I can't tell from the video. Yeah, Pi, go ahead if you are not rugged, and then we'll end it with Sultra.
Pi's rugged. Go ahead, Sultra.
Hey guys, yo, I just want to know, Leonidas, are you ready to get stoned?
Are you ready to get stoned, Sultra? I mean, like, look, guys, we are getting stoned very shortly here. That's what I'll say. And yeah, it's going to take a few days. That's the important thing to realize, that the moment we start getting stoned, what that means is we started. That doesn't mean everybody got stoned at the same time. It will take several days.
Can I get mine first, Leo? Can you just ensure, as long as I get mine
I've
first?
gotten so many DMs asking about the order and all this stuff. It's like, you guys just be patient. Everybody's going to get a runestone. It's all going to work itself out. Everything's going to be fine. We'll be on a space in a week, and everything's going to be great. So yeah, I'm ready to get stoned. I am very ready to get stoned. I would argue I'm more.
I'm already stoned, man. And you can send mine at once, so don't worry.
So Leo, then for those that want to follow along on chain, what is your recommendation? How can they follow this? Can they do it on or.io? Is there a better website's alternative? How do I follow this live on chain as you're being inscribed?
Yeah, so pretty much if you go to or.io and you go to the parent inscription, you can sort by largest inscriptions, and then it's the second largest one. You'll just be able to scroll down to the children's section and click view all. And that creates this link and takes you to this page where all the children will just show up. And if you sort by newest, you'll be able to see them as they come in. That's actually, I'm realizing as I say that, that's a lot of steps.
That sounds so wrong.
Can you just make the home screen? Just make it easy. Or.io.
Oh my God, guys. All right, moving past that, I'll put out a link as well, and I'll try not to talk about children.
Awesome. Well, Leo, dude, really appreciate you. I always enjoy, talking with you, going back to our old days of hosting shows together. We've come a long way from talking with Casey, me and Adam talking with Casey back 4 months before Ordinal Mainnet, and to see where you are today, almost a year and a half later, is, it's quite incredible. And your progress with or.io is amazing. As you launched, I always said it was one of the most important projects to the Ordinal space, and it's proven so. And now we get to see your impact or your leadership, take place and move to Runes. So it's going to be a sight to see. Also, I'll be, Runestone Airdrop receiver of a few wallets. So appreciate you for that service. Adam, would you like any final words? And then we'll have Leo wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Leo. Really appreciate the time. Obviously, incredible amount of interest. And this is going to be huge, man. I mean, it is huge already. So congrats on really this amazing success and leading a community-led project. I mean, it is innovative in its own way. And so really appreciate you, man. And give you the final word here.
Appreciate you guys having me. It's always a pleasure to chat up here with y'all. And I wanted to just throw a question to each of you really quick, if you guys have a second. Is that cool?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So Adam, I just want to know, what is your feedback on Runestone as someone who's just seen a ton of stuff in this space? What can we do to improve? How could I communicate better? This kind of thing. Just give me some feedback.
I think actually you're a great communicator. So I have zero additional stuff you can do other than trying to dumb it down for the people who can't, get in the spaces and follow up. That's the thing. For me, I'm in some spaces, but even for me, it's it gets overwhelming. So understanding the dynamics of, okay, you're going to get the runestone here, and then, Casey's going to launch runes, and then later we're going to do this. So kind of like a real simple like breakdown of what's going to happen going forward, I think would be helpful for newcomers to understand, like, because the way it's going to happen. There are going to be people who see this drop taking place. It's going to be all over the timeline. People are going to go and buy it, not even understanding, what's going to happen after the halving. They're not going to understand that's going to happen. And they're going to sell it again. And then they're going to go, wait, I would have gotten another airdrop, or they're just going to get lost, right? So something to kind of point to, like, the timeline of what's going to happen, I think would be helpful just for newbies who maybe don't grasp the entire thing. I think that'd be helpful.
Appreciate that. As you're saying that, I think what you're saying is we need a WTF is Runestone thread.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, man.
Yeah. First I'd like to say, since we've known each other now for a few years, over the last 2 months as Runestone's come online, or you've taken the initiative of the project, watching the Leo marketing kind of meter flip on, or this flip switch on, has been very intriguing, because I could definitely tell you've really kicked it up another tone in terms of the leadership capabilities, understand, really kind of driving the Ordinal community in the right direction. Again, with the same thing as Adam says, it's more of just simple explainers. I think you've done a really good job. Ultimately, you can't really market to everybody with the same message. We've kind of learned this through running Emblem Vault and having these different type of communities, that everyone gets their information in various ways. And so we try to do this as well. As some people prefer video tutorials, some people like infographics, some people like texts, right? Some people like collaborative marketing. So I think if you try to, get the information of Runestone through these various channels, and then you could kind of just point people to it, it tends to be really, really, really effective. Also, to be honest, I would probably just put something on ord.io that's probably just a little landing page that people could just click on right at the beginning, right at the top of banner. I know you try to stay away a little bit from like specific marketing towards projects, as this is kind of a decentralized one, but I think even just like a banner atop of across ord.io that's like maybe a clickable link that gives a big description, I think would really help people. And it really just kind of confines everything to one specific place for people to find information. Would be great.
Yeah, appreciate that feedback, Jake. I think I debated the ord.io thing. It's like ultimately ord.io is separate than Runestone. They're two different things. And I don't like, it's like, dude, you guys know this, like,
no, it's a thin line, man, right? It's a really, and it's impossible to not cross it, or there are always going to be people who perceive you as doing. Yeah,
there's
exactly.
People that FUD they just want to FUD. They don't even care about the thing they're FUDding.
100%.
They're not FUDding because they care about the piece of FUD they're like FUDding. They just want to FUD you for, they think your project's bad for their project. And it's like 100%. Giving those people as little ammo as possible, where it's like Leonidas is leveraging ord.io to pump his runestone unfairly.
to help his 9 runestones.
On ord.io is Leonidas' runestone. Like, I can just see the thread being written by these people already. So it's like, I'm hyper, guys. I've gotten way more conservative around this stuff, you guys realize. And trying to not create these FUD angles for people. But yeah, it's an interesting point, Jake. It's an interesting point. I can see, like, I'll see what we could potentially do to try to make it a little easier, maybe on a Runestone collection page, or something like this for the children or something like that. So yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I had one more question for you though, Jake, if you have a sec.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're based in Vegas and like pretty connected in Vegas. How do we get on that big sphere thing?
Dude.
Yeah, you saw the dog with hat. They just got their funding or their raise. I think was 650,000. So it's 650,000 for a week. I think for a day it's 150,000. From my friends who work at the sphere and stuff, there's really no way around it. But you could even opt for something a little bit different. I mean, the sphere is the largest screen in the world. I think the Resorts World screen on the side of Resorts World is the second largest. I think actually it's like 6 of the top 10 largest screens in the world are in Vegas. So there's a lot of opportunity there. It's funny. Chris, who's also works at Emblem and is on running the Emblem account, also lives out here in Vegas with me. And we talked since literally 2021 about how Vegas would become this like crypto capital. Specifically, then we realized it'd be for NFTs, and it's really starting to be that, just this like kind of bridge between entertainment and the kind of crypto industry. Just like always really made sense here. So if you want to do anything, right, maybe we could do a Leo Docs party in Vegas or something like that. But if you ever want to do anything in Vegas, man, let me know. Me and Chris can always, between our networks, we could really get in touch with anybody.
Love it. Really appreciate that. I think, yeah, it's Vegas is definitely an interesting place to like advertise it. Like, I feel like if you're throwing an in real life event, like, why would you not pick Vegas as a location? Like, it's got great flights from literally everywhere in the US. There's like an infinite amount of fun things to do. Like, I literally can't think of like a more fun place to do an in real life event. So like NFT Vegas seems like it should be a thing instead of NFT NYC. That's just my 2 cents though.
Dude, I've been trying it. I've been trying to set that up for a while. There was a few conferences, they've all kind of failed. It's interesting now. I mean, this is kind of like a tangent, but like with all the crypto conferences, they've all kind of like claimed a month now at this point in time, right? Like NFT NYC is in April, and then you have like Bitcoin. The Bitcoin conference is generally like June or July, and it like, right, you have like Art Basel's in December. So trying to find that month has always been kind of interesting. Maybe we start, if maybe we see how the dog with hat thing goes, because I believe they did just secure the funding today.
I'm wondering if this is going to become like the billboard of NYC, in like 2021, like everybody wanted to get a, billboard in Times Square. I'm wondering if this is the next level. Obviously a much more fucking expensive level. Holy shit. 650 grand for a week. But
well, if you want to hear a stat, actually, and this is Bitcoin related, actually, the Sphere consumes more energy per year than the entire Bitcoin network does mining. So
no way.
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
It's true. Look, I mean, this was true about a year ago. Maybe it's different now as the prices pushed up.
Yeah,
but
Dogfather's given the thumbs down. I think that might have been like,
doesn't Bitcoin burn like $8 billion?
Yeah, I think that might have been like a scam report. Dogfather, am I wrong in that?
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I recall that tweet. I think there were a few digits wrong.
Yeah.
Because this would be like, I mean, that would burn like enough energy like Norway.
Yeah.
This is just one building. I mean, I think that someone posted that, but the numbers.
I love the misinformation.
Yeah, I think that was a misinformation post like 6-8 months ago, and then it got, because I was on some spaces where that got debunked. I think that's debunked. Yeah, makes a nice story though.
Let's see how much. Yeah, I'm looking up this. How much energy? How much energy does?
That was pretty funny though. It's got to be an insane amount of electricity, because like every pixel is probably the size of a phone that's like burning all the time, and the thing is like, a billion phones attached to the outside of a building. So
well, what would that be if you had funds left over after the airdrops? That would be something interesting that the community could kind of vote on, right? If you wanted...
our funds have to go to basically mining fees one way or another. So our billboard is the Bitcoin network.
All right.
Okay. But if the community wants to, outside of that, organize something, like obviously they can definitely do that.
Sure.
But pretty much I need to stick to my word when I say those funds are going to fees for the network. That I pretty much have to do that. Like that was the expectation I set. And like, I think like, it's a great idea, Adam. But the people donated the 8 BTC, and there was an expectation, and I have to follow through on that. I think my word, like, it's very important that I stick to that. But I don't see any reason why, like, we could easily put together 150K for a day on that building, right? So, like, I'm game. Like, we don't need to figure that out right away. I think people would be pretty mad if we did that and like I just put "Are you ready to get stoned" on the outside of the we all get stoned and then we figure it out. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, there's a few options there, but yeah, 150K for one day is the going rate. So yeah, let's talk. But again, Leo, appreciate you for doing this. It seems like you answered every question. There's insane amount of excitement on the stage. And just some final housekeeping notes before we do close up here. Myself, Adam, and Chris, who's at the Emblem account, we do run Emblem Vault. We do the show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Emblem Vault's the leading cross-chain NFT protocol. It's been with about 100 million in TVL. It's been the largest exporter of Bitcoin assets since 2020, bringing Bitcoin NFTs to Ethereum. We're looking forward in Q2 to finally land on Bitcoin and then be the largest importer to Bitcoin, bringing any type of asset to Bitcoin. We will be leveraging Bitcoin ordinals to do that. We do have a way that we have figured out, and we have, we have some partnership agreements with a lot of leaders in the ordinal space to provide infrastructure to do that. And we do have a very solid and exciting launch partner for when that happens. What will be the big use case will be interesting, but Emblem Vault actually began on Bitcoin in 2016, actually began on Counterparty, left Bitcoin because of kind of the dev environment, went to Ethereum. And so it'll be an exciting time to come back home. Essentially, we're all big believers in Bitcoin. So make sure you give the Emblem Vault account, myself and Adam and Leo and Dogfather, a follow on stage. We will be back tomorrow. Every Thursday, we do our inscription market show. So we cover all of the inscription kind of emerging markets between Bitcoin, stamps, Doginals, Litecoin ordinals, Adam's favorite Bellinals, because he's now the Bells coin meme lord, and all of the other emerging markets, right? We believe that inscriptions, although Bitcoin is awesome, it's inspired a movement across a lot of these other chains. So we do like to cover the market activity there. I appreciate everyone, man. This is probably one of the largest spaces we've had, in a few months. Leo always brings the house, and excited to see what happens here, not just with Runestone, but with Ord.io. And until then, everybody, enjoy your Wednesday. Make sure you guys go to listen to the Ordinal show later today at 6:30 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So about 8 hours, or about 5 hours from now. And you'll hear Leo talk about some more stuff there. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we'll see you back here tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.